Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into 104.3 The Fans Coffee Break. D-Mac, Will Peterson with you today. Rachel V-Hill, we'll say, is on assignment. So she's not playing hooky. She's doing actual work. So we'll give Rachel the day off, and D-Mac and I'll take you for the next 45 minutes. I'm sure.
So hold on a second. She's not with Brandon Stokely in Nashville?
Well, here's the thing. James and I filled in for Stokely and Zach yesterday on 104.3 The Fan. Stoke is apparently, and I say apparently, D-Mac, doing his show 29 minutes from now. Do we buy that or no?
Where?
I would assume at the 104.3 The Fan studios at I-25.
Well, if he's doing that in 29 minutes based on what he was doing last night for the past 3 days, it will be with bleary eyes, to be kind. Yes. But perhaps that was an award-winning song, Bleary Eyes, by Tip McGrew at the Country Music Awards last night.
How much of the CMAs did you watch? I made it through about 15 minutes.
Oh, wow. I watched nothing.
Okay.
But I did enjoy the video clip, and I think we're going to get to it later. I don't want to spoil it. There was a moment that I really enjoyed that I saw later on that I think will be featured here on Coffee Break. And that's about as much as I saw. Did Carrie Underwood win?
I don't know. I was just watching for Peyton and a little bit of me Stoke because Marilatin and I had a bet if he would get over under 0.5 seconds of screen time. And before you off,
0.
He got over 0.5 seconds of screen time at the Nuggets-Warriors playoff game.
Oh, yeah.
Sports side.
No,
he got
no chance.
He got over 0.5 seconds when when the Broncos and Niners played and he was in the box. So all we needed was 1 second, D-Mac.
No way.
Super Bowl ad with the guy.
What is he going to peek out of Peyton's backpack backstage? No, I mean, there's no. He has to go sit in the nosebleeds. He's big time. He's Peyton's turtle. I understand that, but you don't get on TV if you're. Dude, I would be stunned if you hit the over on that one.
Okay.
I mean, what would the context be?
The context would be.
Are they doing a feature on who's getting Peyton's laundry together?
I think the context would be that, he was backstage as one of Peyton's boys, and there just happened to be a shot that caught the side of his face, and boom, the over hits.
All right, man, that is a stretch, but I'll say it's there. But I didn't watch, so I don't know. Listen, man, Will, I do love music, and I actually like certain elements of country music. I just don't know anything about it. I couldn't tell you one guy from another. All the songs sound relatively the same to me, and the reason why, they all are relatively the same because there's like 12 writers in Nashville, and they write all the songs. That actually is how it works. So the country audience does not mind hearing the same song over and over and over again. It's the same tempo. It's different lyrics, but it's about the same stuff. And you know what? Listen, if I want to put my brain in neutral, it's okay. If I want to hear Freebird, 100 times in one night, I'll walk up and down Broadway and go to the bars. How do I know that? Because I did it. And I heard Freebird like 100 times in one night. And it was good. It was cool. It was all right. I heard it with a fiddle, heard it with the guitar. I heard somebody play it on a bucket. I mean, you get different versions of it.
You were there, obviously, for the 2 Avs playoff games when they swept the Predators. I will tell you, though, when I tuned in, they brought this performer on stage, and I don't know who it was. But to your point about they all sound the same, his very first lyric was about baling hay and milking cows. And it was like, farmer boys bale that hay and milk that cow. Whoa, whoa. It was just like, this is so stereotypical country, and this guy's performing on the biggest stage talking about milking cows.
You're making me laugh. I mean, but all right, but who cares if it sounds good? Hey, by the way, most music today is produced by like a person, not playing any instruments. So, but it's like a keyboard. Hey, look at my keyboard that sounds like a guitar, and you can't. Or let me hit this button for the drums. And as a drummer, not a very good one. But as a drummer, somebody who loves drums, it's just it's disheartening to realize how high quality the music can be just with machines and one person. So I saw Charlie Puth the other day, open a door. He opened a door and he based an entire song out of the sound of a door opening because he put it into the computer. Then he pitched it up and then it sounded like this. And then he hit the drum machine and he's using a door. Then the song sounds pretty cool. So what do I know? Nothing.
All right.
Nothing.
We'll get back to the Country Music Awards in a little bit, specifically because our guy, as D-Mac mentioned, Peyton Manning, had a fun moment with his alma mater. But we're going to start, of course, with Wristband-gate. It was the talk of the day yesterday. Russell Wilson punches back at Pete Carroll, hits him with a couple of rights. If you missed it, Pete Carroll said there was resistance to Russell Wilson wanting to wear a wristband in Seattle. Our guy Mike Kliss asked Russell about it yesterday, and here was the result.
About putting the play calls on the wristband.
I don't know exactly what he said, but I think won a lot of games there without one on the wrist. I didn't know winning or losing mattered if you wore a wristband or not. But I think that do whatever it takes to make sure that we're rolling and moving and everything else. A few times I've definitely worn a wristband, depending on the game plan, what we got called, and all that stuff.
Won a lot of games without one, D-Mac. Didn't realize winning or losing had anything to do with wearing a wristband. Couple things here. First of all, I know you have some news. We talked about it a little bit yesterday about Russ is actually wearing a wristband now. So I want you to explain that. But also,
sure.
Do you like Russ sort of taking the high road again? Because petty Pete Carroll had to go and take a low blow at Russ. And just like when he responded to Eli Manning, I'm 3-0 against Chad Powers, he sort of just said, what's he talking about? I won a lot of games in Seattle without a wristband.
Yeah, it's a very petty sort of relationship. It really goes to show how scarring that was and how bad it was behind the scenes. And again, not like we need it. I mean, we get it at this point. We now totally understand the friction that was happening behind the scenes, why those two needed to go their separate ways. And we are starting to understand why the Seahawks have more faith in Pete Carroll than Russell Wilson. We're actually seeing that too. Because at some point, the coach or the general manager has to explain things to the owners. Because when we get to these conversations, Will, it gets to a high level where owners have to make decisions. And people in charge have to sort of say, I'm going this way or that way. We get it more and more. To think that it's not a big deal, Will, I think is foolish. Any significant communication process is a big deal. Russell Wilson has not liked wearing the wristband. The coaches want them to wear the wristband. We talked to Brock Hewitt and other quarterbacks about the benefit of wearing the wristband because you can just get to things quicker. If you can get things quicker, you can get things called and move faster. And you don't have the crowd counting down the play clock, Will.
Right.
So to think that this is nothing is just absolutely naive. To think that this is TMZ gossip or something that exists in pure pettiness, again, is wrong. It's really ridiculous for Pete Carroll to bring this crap up. He doesn't have to throw Russ under the bus while praising Geno Smith. He just can't help himself because I guess this, 70-plus-year-old man is scarred like a teenager not going to prom with her dream date. So I suppose that's who Pete Carroll is. Russ responding to it, that's a defense mechanism. Listen, Pete threw the first shot. I'm not going to blame Russell Wilson for taking a shot back, and he's right. However, that's their relationship. That's that. That kind of clouds over what's really going on. Russell Wilson wasn't wearing a wristband for the vast majority of the season, including right before the Jets game that he was ruled out of at the last minute, only to be wearing a wristband, Will, in the London game and be wearing a wristband during practice yesterday. And that wasn't a troll. He wasn't trying to, get under anybody's skin. This is an adjustment. This is a change. So why has Russell Wilson now gone to something with the Broncos that he really inherently doesn't like doing? Will, why is that happening?
Well, I think it's because he hates losing, right? Like they were 2-5.
I think he always has hated losing.
Right, but they were 2-5 when he wasn't wearing a wristband, D-Mac. So maybe even stubborn Russell Wilson realized if this can help, if anything can help, I'm willing to try it because this is the most miserable I've been in my pro football career.
When the Broncos were effective in England, they were picking things up. They were going through things faster. And I would be interested to go back, and I will. I'll go back and watch that London game. Was he wearing that wristband right away, or did he add it into his wardrobe as the game progressed? I'm not sure about that.
Good question, though. Yeah.
You know, we could maybe even Jay could look that up on the back end and just sort of check that real quick. On play one, was Russell Wilson wearing it? And by the way, nobody picked up on it in England. So we had 3,000 muggles from Denver all showing us pictures of Buckingham Palace, and nobody was looking at a significant change with Russell Wilson. Well, good for Mike Kliss for asking the question, but it wouldn't have taken Mike to ask the question. That provided a lot of spice. Trust me. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. But I think we would have, well, I don't know, man. I got to think about that one. Would we have picked up on it had it not been a topic earlier in the day? Maybe not. I mean,
right.
But it was.
Well, and real quick, the irony that Carroll takes the shot at the same time Russ is now starting to wear it. Like the timing on this was fairly coincidental, but it kind of all ballooned into this one big story that has a lot of different elements to it.
Yeah, and it is one big story, but there's two significant different branches. There's the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, we hate each other, petty crap. Okay, there's that. But then there's the change in philosophy, which is its own independent story. Like the question, why are you wearing it now for the Broncos? It's not about just do you want to win? You always wanted to win. It's more about how Nathaniel Hackett is connecting and communicating with Russell Wilson. It feels like Hackett always would want him to wear the wristband because it's just a faster process. To allow Russell Wilson to not wear it seems like a concession, like what was happening in Seattle. This is a change, and I think it's a change for the positive. Can you win without the wristband? Of course you can, Will. If you're a better team and things are clicking, fine. But if your process is somewhat broken, and maybe you're just getting to know each other, perhaps that does get you to the line 5 or 6 seconds quicker. It moves things along faster. It just helps the speed of everything. And so it's not just about a wristband. And I laugh at these other media people who just throw away the conversation like it's beneath them or not worth talking about. How the play caller communicates with the quarterback in terms of getting things out, Will, that is integral in success or failure. Do you need it? No. But is it helpful? Is it a change? Absolutely. And I'm going to take it as a step for the positive, not the negative. I'm not, is that right at the beginning? Well, I mean, I got it. He's wearing it during the game, but the question is, was he wearing it at the beginning of the game? So, I mean, and maybe Jake could just pop on and let us know. I would assume he was.
But that's also like a good find because that's a big fat wristband. There's a lot of plays on that thing when he's sitting there hugging Trevor Lawrence. Yeah,
and that's what he was wearing yesterday in practice too.
Okay. But I think for perspective for viewers of how big this thing actually is. It's not some tiny little Live Strong Lance Armstrong wristband.
No,
it's a whole sleeve almost. It's a
Listen,
big old
what
thing.
we need to see is sadly, we got some Jake here. What we got, Jake?
Yeah, I'm here. So I'm looking at 10:42 in the first quarter. So start of the game. And Russ is wearing the wristband on his left hand on the first down. So there you go.
Thank you, Jake. That's just what we need to know. So they made that adjustment before the London game sometime between the Jets game and the Jags game. He didn't play in the Jets game. So listen, this is significant, okay? They're changing things. We were asking, Will, what will the change be? Okay, we found something. Yes. I mean, and I don't think it's small. I think communicating and systems of communication is process, and they've had a broken process. So I think they're doing what they hope to be a positive thing to improve that process. So I think it's a big deal. It's not something Russ loves doing, obviously, but they're doing it anyway. So I think that feels like a positive to me. It's a concession by Russ.
It is. And I agree with you that this is all intricate to the game. It's key. They had the delay of games early in the season. They had to hire Jerry Rosburg to help fix these delay of games. And yes, they've gotten better, but maybe it was a two-step process. Maybe it was hiring Rosburg and Russ putting on the wristband, and they've now done both those things. All right, D-Mac, we could go on about this for an hour, but we got a packed show, so I do want to keep things moving. Let's pivot over to the other big story of the day yesterday, and that was Dre'mont Jones in the locker room with the Muggles. And you want to listen to all this audio that Andrew Mason captured for us to give you some context of what it builds up to. And what it builds up to is a concerning end for Broncos fans.
Could, the dominoes, the way they fall, that could potentially affect, you and the fact that you're in a contract year, all that.
I don't know, maybe. I mean, it happened. You lose a player like that, I mean, the money's going to open up. But money is going to open up, you lose anybody on the contract. So, I mean, it is what it is with that.
George called you a core player and somebody that they want to be around here a long time. Did you get that sense, before he said that? Did you feel like that? And how do you view your standing with the franchise going forward?
I view my standing with the franchise as this is Drake going to year 4. That's all I can say.
Do you want to stay here? Do you want to be here long term and be a part of this?
I'm here right now.
I'm here right now. When asked by our own Andrew Mason, do you want to stay here long term? Do you want to be a part of this? Rather than just rattle off a cliche and say, hey, we're trying to get a deal done and I love Denver and Denver drafted me and it'd be great to be a Bronco for a long time. Grumpy, sassy, terse Dre'mont Jones says, I'm here right now, and creates more questions than answers surrounding his future. D-Mac, how did you take the whole conversation? And then particularly at the end, what does this mean for Dre'Mont's future in Denver as a Bronco?
It sounds like a guy who is upset that probably one of his better friends was just traded because it feels like we're giving up on a season again. I mean, Dre'mont Jones has known nothing but losing coming from Ohio State to the Broncos. At Ohio State, you're pretty good. You come to the Broncos for his career, he's probably never experienced anything like this. He's also a player who has really excelled from where he was drafted to what he is now. So good for Dre'mont Jones. Interior pass rush is so hard to find. And you got to be stout against the run as well as be able to rush the passer and push the pocket. I mean, these are unbelievably valuable traits. Here's the irony. He is looking at around $18 million per year no matter what. So even if they franchise tag him, he's still going to get that 18 per. So he is a player who is far beyond trying to make a team. He is getting into upper echelon status. And when you get there, you start really getting a little bit nervous about what the future is going to be. The question that is fair to ask, why does Dre'mont Jones even want to be on the Denver Broncos? I mean, what is it about the Broncos that excites him? He would be an unbelievable, valuable commodity all over the NFL. Why do you think they traded Bradley Chubb, not Dre'mont Jones? I bet you they could have got equal, if not more value for Dre'mont Jones than they got for Bradley Chubb. Wow. So that didn't happen. So the Broncos want to make him core. Well, why didn't they get a deal done with him during this bye week? During the bye week last year, you got big deals done for Tim Patrick and Courtland Sutton. You just said he's a core player when you moved on from Chubb. And it took Chubb, 5 seconds to get a huge new contract from the Dolphins? Nah, something went wrong. Something broke down in negotiation, and that's why he's got that tone. Not only do I not like it here, you traded my best buddy. I haven't done anything but lose, but now you're undervaluing me on my contract? You're trying to get me at a bargain? I don't blame Dre'mont for not being upset, and he knows, and the Broncos know this too, he's got no wiggle room because they can franchise him, and that's a wrap. And sure, he can sit out of OTAs and pout and have, snipey little things to say to Andrew Mason. You can do all of that, and that's probably not great for the locker room, by the way. But it doesn't force the Broncos to do a deal, and the Broncos shouldn't do a deal that they can't. They got to keep Dre'mont Jones, I guess is where I'm going. They shouldn't just, because he's being a pain in the butt, get rid of him. But it stinks that somebody with as high of a motor, personality, and presence like Dre'mont Jones is kind of sour. That's not what you want behind the scenes. And that definitely goes against what Justin Simmons said about how fired they are for the rest of the season. Does that guy sound fired up to you?
No, that sounds like a guy who knows this team's going to finish 5-12 or 6-11 and is counting down to 1-2-3 Cancun before he gets his money. And to your point, I think they talked during the bye, and I know there's folks in the media reporting they didn't. I think they're getting that from the team because the team wants to damage control this. I think they talked during the bye, and the number that they presented to Draymond was significantly off. And in that world, DMAC, in our world, that could mean thousands of dollars. In that world, that means millions of dollars. So it was millions of dollars away from where he and his camp wanted to be. And now he is a sour, grumpy defensive tackle who has 9 games to get through this hellish season for the Broncos.
Well, for the media people that want to keep that line of dialogue going that they didn't talk, all you're doing by saying that is accusing the Broncos of complete incompetence.
Right.
So if we're not saying the Broncos are incompetent. We're saying the Broncos tried to get a good deal done. If you really want to be a media muggle and say there was nothing at all, there's nothing to see here, you are accusing George Peyton of complete incompetence. So I don't know why you want to rip on your guy like that, but I mean, have at it, I guess. We're not. We're putting more faith in George Payton that he meant what he said, and we understand the history of when he's done things in the past. So to think that he didn't have any conversations, I mean, either the guy is really incompetent, I guess that's what they're accusing him of, or they just didn't get the deal done, which is more or less what we're saying. Listen, we also heard the Broncos weren't interested in Kirk Cousins. I mean, give me a break. The Broncos weren't interested in Aaron Rodgers. Gotcha. The Broncos didn't have talked with his agent, Dre'mont Jones, about a contract. Okay. I mean, I do got to laugh at some of the media here in this town, Will, about how naive they expect everybody to be and what they want to be presented to them on a silver platter before anything, I guess, is weathers their approval. I mean, this is the same crew that wants to wait 4 or 5 years to figure out if a decision was good. Okay, hey, I guess we can finally circle the wagons with these folks about Bradley Chubb and Josh Allen. I guess we can do that now, 4 years later. And I'll make this point to go to a deeper point. We're only in this mess because they didn't draft Justin Fields or Mac Jones in 2021, Will. You realize that, right? You draft Justin Fields. Let's just say it's Fields, okay? And say it's Teddy Bridgewater and Fields, because certainly you would have got rid of Drew Lock. You would have had a mentorship process, and then Fields would have progressed, likely to the degree that he is right now, which is almost identical to Josh Allen at the same amount of starts. Almost identical. And to think Fields isn't going on that trajectory is foolish. You could see that he would have. But here's what you got. You keep Bradley Chubb. You have a draft pick. And by the way, the draft pick the Seahawks used, Will, they use it on Charles Cross, their starting left tackle. So everybody is just over the moon about Patrick Surtain. What would you rather have, a starting left tackle or a shutdown corner? I mean, the corner is like the 5th most important position on the team, Will. It's great to have if you've got a quarterback, a left tackle, an edge rusher, and a great wide receiver. Then you get the star cornerback. That's how you do it. Will, why do you think so few cornerbacks are actually drafted in the top 10? It's because teams have bigger needs, and they don't have that kind of draft capital, and they're not dumb enough. Never mind the Colts, who are wasting millions and billions of dollars on a guard that they picked up with the 6th overall pick. You got to be smarter than that, Will. You've got to prioritize what the most important positions are, relative value, and go from there. The Broncos are paying for this right now, Will, because they could not properly assess relative value in 2018, nor could they do it in 2021. And this is the result.
Yeah, cornerback is obviously a important position, but it's not a premium position, right? You're saying it's the 5th most important. So, but the difference, and where I'll give you a lot of credit here, the difference between important in the NFL and premium is night and day. And
relative value.
Yes, quarterback is 100% in the premium category. Edge rusher, to me, is in the premium category. Corner, again, it's not middle linebacker. It's not irrelevant, but it's also not on the same playing field as some of those other positions. So
yeah, I mean, what is the top corner in the league compared to a mediocre quarterback. I mean, it's probably the mediocre quarterback is still probably above the top corner in the league. Probably
they get
even
traded straight up for each other.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's a good example? Because Russell Wilson is, lower than. Yes. So, who in your world would be a good, solid, mediocre quarterback?
Here's a hypothetical for you. Like, Kirk Cousins is having a good year.
Perfect example.
Now he's mediocre. If the Vikings called tomorrow and wanted Kirk Cousins for Pat Surtain, do you think Broncos fans would do it?
I think they should. Right. I think there's some dummies out there that wouldn't. They just really... the whole crowd about Patrick Surtain is better than Justin Fields. I mean, these folks are just whacked. They just don't understand football. And I don't know what to do for them. There's really nothing you can do for them because they want to pretend that every position, I guess, has the same value. You would be crazy not to trade Patrick Surtain II for Kirk Cousins if you had that opportunity. Nuts. And Kirk Cousins, like you said, is pretty average, mediocre. Maybe the 16th, 17th best quarterback in the league. Russell Wilson, for the record, he's somewhere between 25 and 28 in terms of starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Would you rather? I'd rather have Patrick Surtain than Russell Wilson at this point. Nah, what am I joking? I'd still take the quarterback. Listen, You've got to understand where you're at, Will. And this is where George Peyton has failed absolutely miserably. He's had 2 lousy drafts. He's had mediocre free agency. Randy Gregory was talk about a predictable bad pickup. I mean, you couldn't see that coming, and it is bad. Do you have any faith that Randy Gregory's ever going to stay healthy for a full season for the rest of his NFL career?
Probably not, because once you're this deep into it, this is kind of who you are.
George Payton has literally
sweatpants yesterday chilling was a little disappointing.
George Payton has whiffed in 2 drafts. And the whiff right now on Russell Wilson as a trade is like they're comparing it to the Herschel Walker terrible deal. And I'm not talking about running for politics. I'm talking about when the Cowboys dealt him, and it led the Cowboys to a dynasty, by the way, and it led the Vikings to nothing. And that is what is being compared. Listen, if Geno Smith really is the answer, and they don't have to use a first-round draft pick, and you pick up a starting left tackle and a starting, I don't know, whatever you need there in Seattle, pass rusher, right? You can always use a great pass rusher. Holy cow. Look out for the Seahawks for the next few years, if they can get away with it. I'm still nervous about that for them, but they have the option, Will, if they want to move up, if they want to get a quarterback, they're in a position to do it if they want to. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward. The Broncos had to give away Bradley Chubb to get back a draft pick. If Russell Wilson was working out, Will, would we be trading Bradley Chubb?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, D-Mac, I love you, but we got off on a tangent there. We got to keep things moving. We got way too much to do. We're going to skip the news that Kareem Jackson's the new captain. He replaces Bradley Chubb. We'll blow past that. We'll get on to our Nuggets, though, because I know you watched that game last night. They rallied from down 18 to stun the Pacers. Nikola Jokic had 5 fouls a minute into the third quarter, and the Nuggets, again, down nearly 20 points. D-Mac, this is a game last year they would have lost by 30. They would have gotten run out of the gym. And not only do they recover last night, they keep it close enough so that the Joker can get back in with 9 minutes to go in the fourth. They take a lead, play the rest of the game, they close it out. This was a really, really encouraging win, right?
Absolutely agree. And afterwards, Scott Hastings was talking to Jamal Murray about how remarkable it was. And Jamal's expression is priceless because he looks at him like, what are you talking about? And that goes to show, right? That's great. That is awesome. And he looks like that because they're not surprised by this. Here's why they're not surprised. Will, they're going to score 120 points or more most nights at the end of the day. And they have the firepower to do it at any point with a lot of different combinations. So what they did last year, here's probably what happens. They're down 18, okay? They probably do go on a run and cut it to 9. But
with
then
who? With Baku? With Austin Rivers?
Well, no, well, hold on. Listen, everybody goes on runs. You cut it to say 9, but you give it back up. We saw it a million times. So I don't know if they lose by 30, but they might have lost by 19, 20, 21, something like that. They certainly don't win, is the point. They don't come back and win that game last year because they don't have the depth to do it with Jokic on the bench. There was a game or two where Cousins went crazy, scoring like 30 points, and Jokic isn't going to play every game this year. So they did win a couple of games without Jokic last year, but it relied on some remarkable things, like DeMarcus Cousins going for 30 points. I mean, that's a rough thing to count on. But you've got such consistency now with so many guys. And you know who I mean, Jokic is my favorite guy. Aaron Gordon is amazing, okay? This guy could give you 4 points in one game in 26 minutes, and that would be fine. Or he can do what he did last night, 18 and 16. 16 rebounds with 18 points. And unselfish, great teammate, great energy, just there when you need him. I mean, I can't speak highly enough about Aaron Gordon. And you're seeing that two-man game with Jamal and Jokic just sort of click. Come on, Will. I mean, this team is dangerous. Dangerous, period. Great win last night.
No doubt about it. Jake Shapiro points out the Nuggets were 2-6 last year without Nikola Jokic. So you were right. They did win a couple of games, but obviously 2-6 not going to get it done in the grand scheme of things. All right, let's move on to what the Nuggets did this morning, and that was release their new Mile High City Edition uniforms. And we see Bones Highland modeling it here, D-Mac. We got a story up on this at denverfan.com. Obviously a tribute to sort of the mid-90s Nuggets, maybe go all the way back to the days of the Rockets with a little bit of a modern twist. You can see that patch in the lower right-hand corner of the jersey, the blue stripes on the side. D-Mac, I'm going to be honest, I have a hard time keeping up with all these uniforms because it feels like, particularly in the NBA, they get a new uniform once a month. But your first reaction to this new look for the Nuggets, the Mile High City Edition for the 2022-23 season?
Well, I am wearing a sweat-stained dad hat from Syracuse where I graduated proudly in 1991. I'm also sporting from the Buffalo Social Club co-ed volleyball championship sweatshirt from 1997. I am officially the last with the beard that is just pure laziness, not a look. I'm the last person in the world to ask about fashion. It seems cool, and so okay. So I will go there. As far as I can tell, it looks great. There's a million different uniforms every year, and I am the only uniforms I didn't like. The only ones I did not like, and they look good in person, but they were terrible on TV, were the yellows, the all yellow stuff from years and years ago. So to me, fashion-wise, that's the only one that didn't work. And of course, the Nuggets gave me a free one back in the day. So I've got like a Gallinari yellow, Bronco shirt that I'll never wear. Aside from that, I really like the uniform choices from the Nuggets time in and time again. So I think it's cool. But what do I know?
I'm with you. And as Jay points out, health is wealth for the Nuggets. The health of the Nuggets will be significantly more important this year than the jersey they are rocking.
I'll tell you what doesn't look good is the uniform the Broncos are going to wear because the stripes don't match. I mean, that's terrible.
Yeah, but they're undefeated. They're trying to go 2-0. They're going to wear the same combo.
I get it. If it's working for you, go with it. But there's no way you can tell me mismatched stripes make any sense. I can even tell that. But whatever. You win, you keep it going. And they got to change things up with the Broncos anyway. So we'll see.
All right, we teased it off the top of the show, but Peyton Manning did host the Country Music Awards last night. His Tennessee Volunteers have obviously had a great season outside of a dud last weekend against Georgia, but there was some Rocky Top going on at the CMAs last night. Take a look for yourself.
Georgia boy, that was just too much for my ears.
Give it up again for Zeb Ross from Canton, North Carolina for that fantastic dance performance.
Woohoo!
As
Everybody.
Rachel B. Hill joins us
Rachel!
now. A nice
We're
little
here.
surprise. Rachel, welcome in. What did you think of the Rocky Top? And you could see the smile on Peyton's face. He was loving it.
I'm totally here. So this is the first time I'm seeing the clip. I did not watch the CMAs last night like Brandon Stokely did, but I do appreciate the dancing. I think it's funny. I do have an update for both of you, though. Brandon Stokely did not make it for the beginning of his show. Nate Jackson was filling in. I was down at the office earlier this morning working on some fun stuff for coffee break. So, Will, thank you so much for filling in for me. I appreciate it. But yeah, I was here for it. I used to watch the CMAs, but just in past years, it's just one of those things, you almost have to schedule it in a few weeks in advance, and I'm just never on top of it enough.
Here's what's scary, and it's so great to see Rachel. Not that I don't love you, Will, but great to see Rachel. That guy who was doing that dance, I'm going to guess that was really, really good, whatever that is. So whatever that was the highest level of it. Now, let's talk relative value. Let's put that next to a ballerina from New York on Broadway or whatever. So think of your top dancer in terms of ballet, and now think of that guy. That guy does whatever he does at the very top level. That's Patrick Surtain. This is the ballet dancer, in the Russian ballet or whatever up here. Again, that's the best. That guy, this is the ballet dancer. You feel
always bringing it back to Patrick Surtain. I get it. All right, we are going to talk some Avs, Rachel, if you want to
That's the Patrick Surtain of dancing right there.
Yes, okay. Rachel, if you want to stick around for some Avs. But before we get to Avs, I do have to ask, was there an ETA on when Brandon was going to arrive for his show?
He was supposed to get there before the second segment.
Okay.
If that actually happened, I do not know. I'm assuming Stokely probably had to pick up some coffee or something on his way back from the airport. But I'm curious to see how the CMAs. I did also hear, though, our very own Kevin Kisner was hanging out in the VIP tent last night with Brandon Stokely and friends. So good for Kevin Kisner, man.
Well, and good on Stoke for getting chicken fingers into the VIP. That's pretty cool. So no doubt about it. And I don't think Stokely was driving to the office from DIA. Let's put it that way. I think it was probably Centennial Airport, so a little easier of a commute. Let's put it that way. All right, guys, let's pivot to some Avs here though, because they are almost out of bodies. They are so injured, so beat up right now. They are calling up Shane Bowers from the Colorado Eagles to make his NHL debut tonight. So let's talk about Bowers, and let's also talk about this nugget from Peter Baugh. When Bowers plays in an NHL game, it will mean the Avs got 6 players from the Matt Duchene trade who have appeared in NHL contests. The pick that became Byram, Gerard, Hammond, Kamenev, Eustace Ananen, and Shane Bowers. I don't know if I said that right. D-Matt, maybe I did. Okay, thank you. So we can talk. I love revisiting the Duchene trade because Sakic fleeced everyone for that. But we'll go to you first, Rachel. Larger scale here, no Nichushkin, no Landeskog, obviously, probably no Byram. Gerard is day-to-day. Kadri's gone. Burakovsky's gone. Helm hasn't played. This is such a different team than the one that won the Cup 4.5 months ago.
No, absolutely. And you look, first of all, I also love the Matt Duchene trade because my favorite saying out of him is I want to play some playoff hockey. Well, it looked like it's going really well for him over there in Nashville. But here's the thing. We're all not on the worry train. Will, I know you've been on it many, many times saying, don't worry, even if they're 500 at Christmas, it doesn't matter. Here's what's crazy. All the injuries they have, they're still able to pull out wins, and they'll continue to do so. I know we're getting back into it after the international trip and everything like that. Just be patient. I think everything's going to be fine. I think it's scary, but you have to have trust in Jared Bednar and this medical department that they're going to be like, all right, let's get all this stuff done so that when we look to the second half of the season, we look to the playoffs, everybody is set in stone and we're not worrying about any injuries like they did with Gabe Landeskog last year. You back?
Yeah, it's Bowers is an interesting one too from his draft class. This is the latest appearance in an NHL game from the first round of that draft class too. So what a progression for him. Duchesne did see the playoffs. He saw his team lose 4 straight to the Avalanche last year. So let's not ignore that. We have a very interesting 3-game stretch here with Nashville, Carolina, and I'm not sure who they have on Monday, but it's a 3-game homestand with a radically different lineup. And so I think we're in survival mode here, guys. I think we are in a let's just stay in playoff position. Let's be one of the top 8 teams in the conference through this period. And as long as they're there, I'm okay with it. You just don't want to fall off too much. You don't want to go down a deep pit so that you're scrambling really late in the season for desperation wins. I mean, the Avalanche had a little bit of a hiccup late last year, a little bit of one. They had a team meeting and they got it together to the degree where they could rest their starters going into the playoffs, and they were set up well to play the Predators, who they swept. I think they can still have the success they had last year, but they can't with this lineup. There's no way they can do it with this lineup. So it's a different stage of the season. It's survival and then thrival. And right now we're in survival.
Thrival. I like that word. Yes. There's only so much you can ask. I mean, really, guys, they have 6 good players taking the ice tonight. And everyone's good because you're in the NHL, but 6 very good. And that'll be Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Arturi Lehkonen, Cale Makar, Devon Toews, and Alexander Georgiev. And if I miss someone, let me know. But in terms of like really good players, those are the 6. No, you still have some pieces. You'll still have Josh Manson out there, right? You'll still have Eric Johnson out there. You'll still have Evan Rodriguez out there. I guess Alex Newhook. Like, you'll still have some fine players, some NHL quality players. But 6 like very good players for the Avs tonight. Went against Tampa, they had about 15 very good players.
Yeah. And they needed them all, by the way. And as we find out, Nichushkin was hurt, and so was Landeskog, Kadri, Cogliano. Darcy Kemper was playing with one eye. I mean, it was wild when you really think about what they did there. And I'm looking at the schedule now. Nashville, Carolina, which is a good team, and St. Louis. Now, that's really interesting because Pierre Lebrun and was looking ahead at trades and all sorts of deals. And even Adrian Dater was speculating things. Here's a juicy one. What about getting Ryan O'Reilly back for the Avalanche from St. Louis if their season goes a little sideways?
That's spicy.
That is
spicy. This is way too early trade speculation. But how would that feel? That would be a fun one right there. There's the kind of the Taves and Patrick Kane. There's kind of the typical sort of I play for the Blackhawks so you can trade for me sort of guys. But the Ryan O'Reilly one is juicy. And boy, would that be kind of exciting. And wouldn't that be a story?
Yeah, I think Avs fans would welcome back O'Reilly with open arms. I do not think they would ever welcome back Matt Duchene with open arms. So,
but nobody's talking about that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, there are some guys who leave your team and you're bitter at. There's some guys who leave your team and you're not bitter at.
Correct.
O'Reilly, not bitter. Duchene, bitter. We'll leave it there because we do have to wrap up here in a couple minutes. But Rachel, part of the reason you're with us is because you have a very exciting announcement about what to expect on tomorrow's coffee break.
Okay, so we're trying something new. We love hearing from everybody in the comments, but how about people that actually want to hop on? So we are doing our very first town hall tomorrow. It's going to be myself, DMAC, James, and Cecil, and you guys are going to be able to come in and talk to us. Just like how we have DMAC and Will and all these guests, you get to actually hop on, talk to us. We're going to put the link in the comments, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. It's just going to be fun. It's going to be something different. If people get mad at James, we're going to see what they have to say. DMAC, if somebody loves a take that they have, or if they have questions too about the Broncos, the Avs, the Nuggets, whatever it's going to be. I'm just excited for everybody that tunes in every single day for the opportunity for them to hop on and actually hang out with us, just like we would at a town hall meeting. It's going to be like a real life coffee break, where we're all just kind of shooting the sheesh together a little bit. So I'm excited. It's going to be something new, and it's going to be something fun.
DMAC,
awesome. I love it.
That?
Oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm all for it. Sounds great.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning into Coffee Break. DMAC, thank you. Jake Shapiro, thank you. Rachel, appreciate you joining us the last 10 minutes. Hope everything went well at the office. And we will see you guys tomorrow for a very exciting town hall. Have a good Thursday.